Let's talk about the Celtics, Logan, because I shouldn't presume that it's going to be them. You know what happens when you assume, Logan? You know what happens? You make an ass out of you and me, pal. And that's what I did. On the last show that we talked about Celtics Heat, I said, Heat fans, if this series becomes even remotely interesting, you guys can do what you want with me. Sounds a bit strange, but I said you guys can send me to the gallows, draw and quarter me. And sure enough, the Heat took game 2, of course, without Jimmy Butler. How did that happen? And what did you take away from it?
The Boston Celtics, just took the night off. I'm so disappointed, dude. Like I'm borderline angry with the Boston Celtics. They allowed Miami to break their franchise record of three-pointers made in a playoff game. They said it.
Woo!
Fun fact, in 2021 against the Bucks, they made 20 in that game. They go 23 of 43 in this game. And so you go, well, how does that happen? Well, I'll give props. Tyler Herro did a phenomenal job in this game of getting downhill, of collapsing the defense, of generating open looks. And you could tell. I know the players talked about it after the game and the interviews and stuff. Like, it was a conscious effort, you could tell, by Miami, and that is their recipe when they're at their best. We're going to take as many threes as possible, and if we're on, it's going to create a huge margin. It's just going to give us an advantage. It's an efficient shot, and there were a lot of open threes in this one. So Herro goes for 24 points, 14 assists, knocks down 6 3-pointers. Caleb Martin, the Celtic killer, bangs 5 of them. Nikola Jovic gives them great minutes, bangs 3 3-pointers. Bam did a great job defensively. And, as a finisher, did some stuff on the low block too. 21, 10, and 2 on 9 of 13 shooting. Shout out to Jaime Jaquez. Shout out to Miami Heat for doing their thing. But moreover than anything else, I am just fed up with the Boston Celtics doing this, man. Carson, this was a statement game for me for Boston, man. No Jimmy Butler. Everybody else is taking care of business across the playoff landscape. Like, this is a big moment. This is a big game for Boston. I mean, you can put your foot on Miami's neck. No Jimmy Butler. We're going to beat the brakes off you guys. We're going to beat y'all senseless. They should have whooped them. And it is consistently, man, in these big games, it's another sad and embarrassing loss. Like, they let Miami off the hook, man. It is so frustrating that this Celtics team can be so dominant. And then this game, man, they just don't play defense. They are disengaged. There's bad rotations. There's no discipline. There's no energy or effort. There's no structure, and there's no game plan. The first guy I'm going to point the finger at is Kristaps Porzingis, where there were so many times in this game. Kristaps, you're a 7'3", dude, right? I don't know how long your wingspan is. I presume it's really long, 7'3" plus. Pretty big, man. After the Celtics hit, after Miami hits 2 or 3 threes in my face, I think I'd put a hand up. There were so many instances, Carson, in this game where KP is on the perimeter and is just standing there, letting guys shoot over the top of him. Hand down, man down, man. There are too many possessions like that. And then offensively in this game, he gives me 6 points, 8 boards, 4 assists on 1 of 9 shooting and 0 of 4 from deep.
Yeah.
Abysmal. So he's the first guy I'm going to point to. And then the second guy is Joe Mazzulla. When the Celtics are reeling, Carson, it's weird. It's that Shane Falco, man. I talked about it last year in the playoffs. It's that quicksand. Except the Celtics don't fight back. The theory of quicksand is it's like you start scratching and crawling and you go deeper into the hole. The Celtics are just like, man, I'm just going to sink today. We're just not going to turn it around. That's one thing that is still so concerning to me about the Boston Celtics is when they are out of rhythm and they come out of the gate slow and they're not playing well, they can't turn it around. It is like a sinking ship that is not coming back up. And Boston has shown us this side of themselves so many times. It's just really concerning. They are so talented, but it is alarming to me that they can be so undisciplined some games. No game plan, no structure. It's like they were just thoughtless, brainless. They were just out there. And I'm frankly disgusted, Carson. Miami came into this game with an intent, with a game plan, and they were attacking and they were dictating. They came out with an ideology, with a process, and they executed. And Boston came out brainless, brain dead, with no game plan. And they just left me so underwhelmed, man. I'm so disappointed in Boston. I can't imagine how their fans feel.
The single worst thing you can do to the Miami Heat offense in general, but especially when they're down Jimmy Butler, is concede a bunch of open threes. And there are a bunch of reasons that the Celtics allowed that to happen. And of course, Miami's shot making was crazy, right? Even if you're getting good looks from deep, which they were, you got to make 23 of 43. Like, that's crazy. They somehow just find that way, man. These individual games, these series, they shoot the lights
But
out from deep. All the power to them. That's Heat magic, man.
That's the
Heat
point.
culture.
They're capable of this, and you're not even making them work for those shots.
Well, and it's not just that they're capable of it, Logan. It's that they don't have the sort of athletes, they don't have the sort of on-ball creators who really threaten you downhill. And so I thought there was a lot of over-helping in this game where Boston basically had a drive contained, and it would be against a sort of meh athlete, and somebody would sink in too far, and it would lead to an easy kick-out three. Also, I thought some of their pick-and-roll coverages in this game were just, like, really problematic. Herro was fantastic. Herro has obviously had bigger scoring performances. This might be my favorite Tyler Herro game ever because I don't think I've ever seen him dissect a defense methodically like he did in this game. But Logan, like, there's certain spots where they're running these guard on guard screens. I think of one instance where there was just a flat out defensive miscommunication. They didn't know if they were switching, and they got a wide open three out of that. But then they're playing drop with Horford and then with Porzingis against Haywood Highsmith, Nikola Jovic. And I get that, like, you don't really love KB defending in space. Horford, I mean, he's not great there, but he's okay. But it's like you're conceding pick and pop threes by design to these good 3-point shooters who aren't particularly, like, athletic, obviously, right? They're not threatening you downhill as rollers. So I just thought it was so bad. The effort was bad. Jaylen Brown, I had so many moments in this game where I'm just like, dude, get a hand up, rotate more quickly, have some more purpose defensively, and just overall, like, I would live with anything that the Heat offense could generate over open catch and shoot threes. I would absolutely live with just I would live with dealing with a 2-on-1 out of pick and roll. I would certainly just play it straight up 2-on-2 and see if I can get a Herro floater than I would consistently be sinking my defense in too far. And so you're creating those really good looks. I thought there was a lot of poor screen navigation from Boston in this game, just getting caught up on those actions. It was bad. Like, that's the one way the Heat are going to beat you. They're going to rain threes on you. At the same time, I was impressed by Miami in this game. Tyler Herro giving you 24 and 14 on 81% true shooting, like, just consistently creating great looks out of pick and roll, making the right read basically every time, hitting poppers, running that pick and roll with Bam, hitting him over the top through a nice lob in this game. They trapped Herro a couple times. He created open threes out of that. And just continually, he was making the extra pass, right? Pump fake, defender goes flying by, boom, I'm swinging to the open shooter. And the entire Miami Heat team did that because that's what they do. They're well coached. They make good decisions. They have a game plan. And just by moving the ball, forcing the Celtics to constantly be in rotation and exposing their tendency to overhelp and whatnot, like, they just got open three after open three after open three.
And that's what I just didn't understand with Boston's defensive process in this game. One, I am making it an effort to just run them off the line. Like, at a point, please go shoot a mid-range jumper, get downhill, go get your layup. You're not going to hit any more threes on me. Like, I'm done. We are sealing off the perimeter. And then two, like you said, dude, you hit the nail on the head. Miami doesn't have anyone who's actually dangerous at pressuring. Why are you doubling off Tyler Herro in the mid-range? That's the shot we want. We want him to take a tough mid-range jumper. If I was the Celtics head coach, I would be so frustrated. I don't know what Joe Mazzulla does coming into these games, man. I don't know what
He watches the town about 4 times a week. That's how he gets ready.
And he talks about building sandcastles, man. I'm so beyond frustrated with Boston and the fact that they have these duds. Great teams, championship teams don't have these kind of duds. There's no Jimmy Butler, man. There's no world in which you should lose this basketball game, man. This is a statement win, and it was a statement for Miami, man. I'm perpetually disappointed in Boston. I'm not going to count out Miami. I guess Miami has proven what they can do, but, like, dude, just there's such a talent discrepancy here. This should not be a series, man. Miami should not be competing, and yet they do this, man. I'm disappointed in Boston, dude. So disappointed.
This is definitely an issue that Boston could have addressed with a better defensive game plan and better defensive communication and better defensive effort, etc. But Herro was awesome. Bam balled out. We got like the best version of offensive Bam in this game. He was going at KP and Horford out of the post. He was nailing his turnarounds. He was great finishing out of pick and roll with Herro around the rim or pop into the free throw line area. He ran inverted pick and roll at one point that created a wide open three. Like Bam was doing his thing. Nikola Jovic had a really nice game. Good playmaking, was able to penetrate the defense some and create looks for others and also knock down his jumpers. Caleb Martin did what he does against the Boston Celtics and he did not miss. Like, shout out to all these guys for stepping up, but you just can't let the Heat without Jimmy give you a 117 offensive rating, and you can't concede that many threes. Offensively, this wasn't a good Boston game. KP was awful, could not hit a three, was incapable of attacking mismatches in this game, which he was the most efficient post-up player in basketball this year. That is what he did better than anybody, drawing fouls consistently, getting physical out of the post, and then shooting over guys easily. This is a small-ass Miami team. He should be able to do that with ease. And yet on post-ups, he was 0 of 3. He had 1 assist. He had 1 turnover. He just has to be able to bully these guys, and they bothered him some off the catch. They were able to get a hand on balls and whatnot. Drew really wasn't great. And, you know, Jaylen had his stretch of this game where he was really balling. Tatum had his stretch, but I don't put this on those guys offensively. The supporting cast just wasn't as good, and neither of those guys were exceptional enough. So the Celtics are going to be fine in this series, man. Even if Jimmy comes back, like they 1000% should be fine, but you just can't let this keep happening. You cannot have your brand be extremely talented team that is inevitably going to have some inexplicable lapses in decision-making and focus and effort and process. This happens every year. Like every year we look at this series and we say, yeah, Boston should roll them. Obviously it's different without Jimmy, but what happens? They go 7 and then they lose in 7. And even when they lose in 7, you feel like, oh, wow, the Celtics finally locked in now that they're down 3-0. And it turns out that they're actually capable of kind of just steamrolling Miami when everything's going. And yet too consistently, it's, oh man, they can't figure out the zone. They're getting baited into bad 3 after bad 3. And oh man, the decision-making is breaking down from Tatum and Brown. And oh man, this team full of defensive studs, otherworldly defensive personnel are just playing stupid and playing low effort in a playoff game. That's my frustration with Boston. It's not that they're going to lose this series. It's you guys got to win a title, man. One of these next 2 years, you got to win the title because you are crazy talented. I said I thought they weren't going to lose more than 3 games in the East this year. That's strike one. Strike one goes to a Miami team down Jimmy Butler. It's just the same thing. And it's frustrating. I don't think it's going to be their Achilles heel in the East this year because the East is so weak and they are so unbelievably stacked. But you just have to clean that up, man. It's time for the playoffs. Like the margin is going to get slimmer and slimmer and slimmer until you're playing the Denver Nuggets. And then your margin is 0 and they're never going to have a game like this. The games that they start slow against the Lakers team that is way better than the Heat without Jimmy Butler, they still grind out. They still win. And unfortunately, you have a track record of not doing the same and of having way uglier lapses.